Hello and welcome to Tech Open Air 2014. I'm with Mamedi, the CEO and founder of Truecaller, with Lucas from Cranach, CEO and founder of the Onefootball lab. I'm Lasse Clausen, the founder of Found. Also with me, Rameet Chawla, founder of the Fuel Collective in New York, and Nicky Szmala is the global director of Geometry Global in Beijing. And maybe it'd be nice to start out if each one of you can just sort of give a little background on how you got started out at your current company. I think among three of you, there's a current theme that kind of started out relatively scrappy, and maybe you can elaborate on that.
Sure. So back in 2009, me and my co-founder, we had a problem. We were getting a lot of calls from abroad, from like in my daily life, work life, but also like friends moving abroad. My co-founder went to like in an international class, and getting calls from all over the world. Being able to know who's actually calling you saves a lot of time in your daily life. Like, should I take this caller or not? How do I know this caller?
I think even to the point in the US, people never pick up a number they don't know, right?
Exactly. In fact, we've seen that calls that we can identify are being picked up 40% more than unidentified calls. So we started work on this project called Truecaller with an idea to be able to create the world's largest phone book, where you can go in and you tap a number or you tap a name and you get the details you need about the person. We did this as a pilot. We developed it for Windows Mobile, put it out on XDA Forum. First week we got like 10,000 downloads. This was before the app stores were quite big. So we were thinking like, this might be something, like people really need this themselves. We were doing this as a hobby project to use it ourselves. So then we decided to let's build a company around this.
Lucas, what's your story?
So it's pretty simple. So I founded Onefootball because I'm a huge football fan.
What's your favorite sports club?
Cologne. It's a
FC
second
Köln,
division,
right?
Erste FC Köln. Second division, now going to first division. And so the 1990
What was better,
team,
Germany winning the World Cup or your club going to the first division?
that's a tough one. I would say Germany winning the World Cup. No, and it's if you're a football fan of a bad club, it shows real passion. And so I wanted to have all the scores against my club on my phone, and we started with SMS services. And it was incredible how people picked it up. And then we went to Java applications because we said we need to customize this, and it's not just us deciding what content has to be in the SMS. And and then luckily Steve Jobs came out with the iPhone, and that's the entrepreneurial luck you need to succeed, I believe. And as being one of the first 1,000 apps on iOS, we were very early in the market, and we had about 1.5-2 years to get there. And I mean, now it's a different service. We're available in 16 languages, getting to 40 languages, full content experience end of the year. And the good thing is I hope that's the same for you, still the biggest fan of my own product, because I'm using it every day. So I know what I don't like, and I know what I like or where we have to improve.
So you have the famous founder market fit. So not even product market fit, but you have a founder market fit, where the founder instinctively needs a product that I think a large market also wants.
Exactly. So I'm not a real techie. I mean, I studied economics, but I didn't want to move in my family business, which is machinery production, very boring. And so I mean, it was a tough one the first 3 years. I have 2 kids. I didn't earn any money. My wife was almost killing me about that. But I kept on, and now I'm happy, but still we're just at 10% of the 100%.
Right. So that's it's interesting where you also had what you said 2 to 3 years where you weren't making that much. Yeah. So I actually used to work in investment banking.
Okay.
And that's what I graduated school with a degree, and so I got recruited at a school by Merrill Lynch, and so I had a good jump start to my career, and a lot of my friends told me, hey, your personality isn't really a fit for, the banking world and, finance.
You don't look like a banker.
Yeah, well, now especially, right now especially. But you should have seen my photos. I conformed back then. I had, very short hair, a clean shaven suit, like the whole thing.
Okay.
And, I was a dressed up banker. And bankers are, notorious for dressing up anyways. But anyway, so after 3 years of working in finance, I was like, hey, listen, I want out. But it was hard, right? Because I was living in New York, and New York, I think it's notorious for being able to spend any money that you make. Like that city will suck you dry, and so it's not like I had that much savings because the more you make, the more you spend. And I elected to then quit my job after I started some work, and to what you were referring to in terms of scrappy. So I actually started by finding jobs on Craigslist. Where they were looking for development talent, and then sourcing candidates on Craigslist. So I was really just a market maker when I was first starting out, and I mean, in a way, I'm right now still market making because I still find people that are looking for services, and I have talent that can execute those, and it's just a smarter model around it in terms of we're able to capitalize on upside in a way that I wasn't before. But basically, I actually interviewed as a developer. I mean, I'd go into people's offices, pose as a developer for mobile apps, having actually never written a line of Objective-C ever. And I would be interviewing with their CTO for the position, and I would say, hey, listen, I don't feel comfortable like working in the office. I'm going to work remote. And I was one of those sketchy guys who actually took the job, like, I can work 3 days a week, and gave it to my team so that they could do the work. And I grew out my initial team that way, and I'd always come back to the client 3-4 months in. Once I knew the relationship was really solid,
it was lock in.
Yeah, it was
you
lock in.
opened your books.
Yeah, and then I was like, hey, by the way, I have some guys. So if you want to give me more than a week's worth of work, I can handle it. Because I actually have 6 guys now, and now I have 12 guys, and now we've grown to over 100 people. But back then, that's how we got started. It was very kind of scrappy and a little bit of trickery, a little bit of sleight of hand. But I always opened up.
Why didn't you send in your developers?
So it's a sales thing, right? A lot of the developers weren't interested, they wanted to develop products.
They hate to pitch.
They hate pitching. And also the value for me, and I realized this several times over, is when I still do it, when we close a client now, it's really understanding their product, recommending things from a product standpoint that really open their eyes up. Oh, this guy gets it, we should give it to him. As opposed to the developer who just, is a little bit socially awkward, maybe traditionally, I'm not saying all of them are, and isn't interested in those meetings and can't jazz up the client, So for me, there was a higher conversion rate. So it was an obvious call to go in. I remember still the first time I put my developer in front of a client, it was a disaster. So,
Nicky, maybe a bit about your background, and then also we heard some very interesting things because you're based in Beijing, so you know the Chinese market, and we've been blown away by basically China being way ahead of us.
That's true. So I came to China in 2009. I heard this nation calling me, and I was working for Icon Mobile, which is a WPP company, and I was working for them in Berlin, and they formed a joint venture with Ogilvy and Mather. And I came over to help to set this up and grow the business back in 2009. And then these were the days of Series 60. There was also the thing where apps were somewhere hidden in the Nokia operating system, and you never found them unless you had the spot on the home screen, and that was pretty limited for 5 apps, I think. So and then once the iPhone came out, there was actually a lot of opportunity to do some cool stuff, and I had a chance to be part of it within the WPP network, do some funny things. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Something we've touched on before already, but it'd be very interesting. It's actually my favorite part of the panel is basically your just your outlook on the far future. Kind of could be also wishful thinking. Just kind of to say that again for the
I think far future and technology, the easiest way for me to kind of relate the two is, or at least to explain it to people, is the idea of a cyborg. So anything that we do right now in terms of hearing, vision, touch, everything, I think all of those things are going to be enhanced by technology in some way, shape, or form. So right now, when we're looking at something, we use basically our biological eyes with no. When normally people don't have help unless you have contact lenses, right? But that's not really. There is components of technology that are in there, but not active. And so I think in the future, stuff like that, we'll be able just to see further. We'll be able to focus on different things. Hearing, we'll be able to hear conversations that are out there. It's to combine a machine and a human into one. I think that's one way of looking at how we're going to be. It freaks some people out, but I think a lot of
enhanced biology.
Enhanced, and it's not necessarily all going to be internalized. Some of it will be externalized. Some of it will be internalized, and I think tech's going to affect the way that we perform regular tasks, not just from an efficiency standpoint, but just bring what we're capable of.
Is Ritalin the first step of that?
Also, again, I mean, in a way, that is technology, right? It's that's in a chemical form, and it's again passively active. But all of those things, I think that's just going to kind of take one leap forward, and we're going to be a lot more comfortable with wearable tech in a way where the people aren't really thinking right now.
Nicky, what's your outlook on the future?
This is what I mentioned before. The future has arrived for China in terms of like the convenience of life that's brought through mobile devices and services that are attached to it. It's just like the mobile device is like the interface to like shop anything you want, get it delivered, have access to all kinds of services. You don't need to like leave your home. You can do like all your banking, everything just through the mobile device. And you have the services in the West as well, but the adoption rate is different. You don't have like the 20-year-olds and also the 60-year-olds all using like the same kind of device, and they're using it as the most natural thing in the world. The adoption rates of a new service is just like so much quicker. So I believe the other things that we're hearing about, like the technology innovations, they might be fast adopted like in emerging markets, and they might be here.
Alan, what's your outlook on the future?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think what we are all leaning towards is to build an automated environment where everything is being predicted for you. You as a person should do less and less stuff. Like in our case for Truecaller, for instance, you as a user in the future shouldn't be like, you shouldn't go in and say, hey, I want to search for this person. Truecaller should know who you want to search for. I think we've seen that with Apple trying out Siri, one step towards automating things. Google with the watches. Google Now, those kind of things. And I think this will become important parts of the future.
Lucas, any other ideas?
So that sounds very scary. I have to say. I hope that most of the things...
People were scared by the cell phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you remember, there were stories of people freaking out when people were talking and
yelling
and slapping people.
I think the critical question is relevance and commodity. Yeah,
Okay.
So that because the thing is, I hope that there's going to be another trend going against this, saying, I want to do things by myself and I don't want to have all this automated, and that you really separate what is really needed from what what is nice to have.
Yeah, well, automation's different than capabilities. So what I'm saying is you're capable of doing more yourself.
Exactly. But
he was talking about more automation and prediction. I think those are two completely separate trends. And so you're saying there's going to be a trend towards doing it yourself, but I'm saying with assisted technology.
That might be, but when I see people are starving for a mall where you don't have all the same shops, so people want to have a bit back, that kind of individualized, and not everything is the same, everyone communicates the same. So I believe there's going to be a trend. I mean, you cannot keep the technology; it's impossible.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
But I see you don't have a Facebook account. I have one. I'm just using it for PR. I think more and more people are actually now realizing what they did in the last years, and they don't want everything, communication layers and the 10
blasted out
communication layers.
So scaling back a little bit.
I think it's going to be scaling back a little bit, and concentrating, and I think the best result you see in terms of the app stores, everyone 1.2 million apps on iOS, but 21% are dead, and I believe only 50,000 are really used, and when it comes down, 25 are really the ones you use on a monthly basis. Then it's good to sell the big one, but in the end it's very small. And when I see how I use my phone, I'm using it for phone calls.
Right, but how is that going to change in the future? I mean, the numbers are 25,000 now, and they still sell this big number.
Exactly.
But I mean, you're saying that's going to change in the future? It's going to be the same in the future?
I think it's going to be more and more toned down to relevance.
So
I think the
25,000 is going to be reduced.
No. So I believe that the products are going to get better and better. And
the numbers going to be the same.
Exactly. Numbers keep the same because it's all new
always
products.
Yeah.
And then through the quality, in the end, the bads get out and the goods get in. Yeah. And I believe that's what I mean with relevance, that people learn technology. Because right now it's like, wow, Facebook is so cool because I can connect with people. And today it's like, connecting with people is so boring because I can do it everywhere. So I think where and how I want to connect with people.
It's interesting. Do you still use Facebook to connect with people at this conference?
No.
So
I don't use any layer.
So I think there's a theme or saying about technology that usually it's overestimated in the short term and underestimated in the long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe quickly, some thoughts maybe on Tech Open Air and the conference to close it. So I think the theme what the organizers want to do is have all these different disciplines like psychology, neuroscience, art, music, but have the common denominator technology that connects, and in the future will connect all of these, as you were saying, some applications that are biochemical or and just how so far you have experienced, how has it been here, and do you think are they capturing the essence of what they're trying to do here? Maybe Alan, how was your experience so far?
I've been to a couple of events before. This is the first time here in Berlin, and I have to say this is something totally different. Like, it's a diversity of different type of people. The whole, it's a different culture. And yesterday when I came to the speakers' dinner, I was amazed how the whole environment was different towards what I'm used to in Stockholm, Sweden. And now when I come here, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And you meet so many different people with different backgrounds, different cultures, and I'm amazed how many people there are from different parts of the world here. It's like a hub.
Rameet, how does it compare to events and conferences in the US?
So I love it. I'm a more rustic and creative guy, and I think all the events that I always go to are just so overproduced and clean. I think that my favorite part about Tech Open Air is the open air part of it. The fact that there's TPs in the back, there's so much greenery here. I can't think of another conference that has this much greenery. And so I think that just brings a smile to everyone's face, and it's the summer in Berlin, so it's probably the best excuse to come to Berlin. And it's like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go to Tech Open Air in Berlin. It's amazing. I'm really happy with the conference, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, and thank you very much to Tech Open Air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.